and our meeting tonight is now open for sharing testimonies of healing through Christian Science. Jeremy.
I'm very grateful to be a member of this church and to be learning Christian Science here. I'm so thankful to God tonight for the way He has prepared the way for all this work to be done. First, just the fact that it has become so commonplace for people all over the world to have cell phones and internet. The way that the world is interconnected makes it easy for people everywhere to access everything this church puts out there. Second, there's so much software available for free that allows me and others to do this work. Almost every single program I use each day is free to download. And because of that, there's been no barrier from people all over the world to join in and help do this work. I just think that's amazing. Third, we have so much work to do. There never seems to be an end to what we have to do. And each person who comes to the church brings skills that add to it all. It's wonderful to see how God has a place and purpose for all of us and gives us all a way to bless others. It is such a joy to get up each day and do this work. There's always more to do and learn, always more that God is unfolding. I'm so thankful to be a part of this mission and grateful to God for bringing me here. Thank you. And now I have a testimony from Diana.
Hello, this is Diana from Berlin and Vienna. I'm in Vienna now, and I want to express my gratitude for the roundtable discussion on July 7th, which discussed how we can care for our children and how our children are indeed starving for God's truth and presence. I'm working with children now, teaching them music in an elementary school, and I know that the work I'm doing there is making a big impact on the school. In fact, the school has improved drastically in the 2 years that I've been there. Now, as an aside, I want to explain that although I have qualifications in music education, I am really an opera singer, song recitalist, and voice teacher, and this job came to me 2 years ago, literally out of the blue, at a time when I needed it for many different reasons. In fact, I found out about the job and signed the contract in a matter of literally 4 days, and I was living in Vienna, and the job was in Berlin. I knew nobody in Berlin and had no housing when I said yes, but God provided for me every step of the way. I feel that God literally dropped me into this job to help these children who really needed the help. I bless the school every day, and I pray to know that the children are receptive to God and to all that is good. In the coming year, I will also add the simple prayer that was shared in the July 7th roundtable, that is, quote, "I thank thee, Lord, that nothing can come between you and this child," unquote. Now, I want to share an experience I had with the 5th grade class this year, which was a demonstration in children's receptivity to God's goodness. I have a chorus for the 5th grade classes, and in the 5th grade songbook I made for them, I have A Coat of Many Colors from Andrew Lloyd Webber's Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I always give a background to each song that I teach them, so I explained the Bible story of Joseph. As I began to tell the story, these children were gobsmacked and listening with every fiber of their being. I had never seen these children like this. They were so focused and silent, and even the boy, who was the comedian of the class and always trying to get attention by making a joke of everything, was looking at me with his eyes and mouth wide open. I was actually quite surprised and taken aback, but it was a clear confirmation and encouragement that the daily prayers were working. And actually, every day, I have stories of how a high-quality music education is making a huge impact on these children's lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Luann from New York, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm so thankful for everything I'm learning here through Christian Science. After living such a dysfunctional life, it is hard to comprehend how drastically things have changed for me since I began working with my practitioner. One such change that has occurred over time is learning to let go of a fear of confrontation. In the past, I would always allow others to rule over me and make unreasonable demands. I spent my entire childhood being knocked around and told I was useless. I had no voice, nor dared to speak against it for fear of severe reprisal. I kept it all inside and suffered mentally and physically from the ever-growing hate that ate away at my soul. As I grew and moved on in life, things were not that different in my relationships with other people. My partner was constantly trying to interfere with my study and practice of Christian Science. It was not easy to break free from that human sense of obligation while living with someone who has such a skewed personal sense of what a relationship should be and what is expected according to tradition or societal laws. It took a few years of constantly holding my ground, turning to my practitioner for help, listening to God, and being persistent in truth. I began to think, what is more important to me, this relationship or my relationship with God? Instead of sacrificing everything that was good in my life, I began to stand against everything that was keeping me from my commitment to God and His plan for me. I no longer allowed this evil into my life, my home, or the home of my friends. The end result of this work is much happier and harmonious life where I am free to be what God wants me to be. My partner has seen the results of this and is beginning to accept that God comes first. I participate in the activities of the church without interruption. I'm left alone to spend time in prayer, write out my testimonies, or prepare the Bible study questions. When I did my painting for the magazine, I was oftentimes interrupted with demands on my time. This time, there was no argument about how much time it took. During the 4 days it took to complete, my lunch was brought to me, and I was left alone to focus on the task at hand without any form of confrontation. I am deeply grateful for all the prayerful work of my practitioner during these difficult times. I am so grateful to God for bringing me out of the darkness. I'm grateful for everything I've been given through the study and practice of Christian Science. Thank you.
Thank you. Dede from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. Lately, I've been reminding my daughter not to simply get upset and whine when she feels she can't do something, something's not working correctly, and so on, but rather to make sure that she asks for help when she needs it. Recently, when I gave the reminder, a strong thought came to me with the question of whether or not I'm following the suggested practice. I thought how much time I spend being worried or bothered by something before turning to God to ask for help, guidance, understanding, or clarity concerning the matter. I decided that any amount of time is too long, since we're clearly reminded in Psalm 46, verse 1, that God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. If my ever-present and all-powerful Father is always protecting me from danger or distress, then the best thing that I can do for myself, my family, or anyone else is to call on Him and turn to Him immediately for the answer to all things. I'm grateful to God, Christ Jesus, Mary Baker Eddy, and the Plainfield Christian Science Church Independent for all that we have to open our thought to the healing ideas and reminders that we need to improve the way we're living. Thank you so much, Amanda, for those readings. Thank you for all of the testimonies given so far and those to come. I'm very grateful to be here tonight.
Thank you. Joanne from Florida, go ahead.
First of all, thank you, Amanda. Those readings were beautiful. Last week, Dave and I drove 2.5 hours to St. Petersburg to see a Yankee baseball game. We're both avid Yankee fans, and before we left, Dave mentioned to our practitioner that we were going on this trip, and then half-jokingly added, "Can you pray that the Yankees win?" Well, although I doubt that she prayed specifically for the Yankees to win, I'm sure she knew that this trip would be a blessing and a refreshment for us. And this is how it was. First off, we had perfect seats close to the Yankee dugout, and the people sitting around us were very pleasant. That's not always the case at a baseball game. Next, midway through the game, I had to go to the ladies' room. The line was long, so while I waited, in order to keep my thought right, I prayed for everyone in the line and everyone in the stadium. When I got back to my seat, Dave told me that a foul ball that was hit landed hard right in my empty seat. What a protection. Dave grabbed it and then graciously gave it to the young man sitting next to us. Lastly, the Yankees won the game. And even though the game went 10 innings, we got back to the hotel in time to do the Thursday night Unity Watch in the peace of our hotel room. The more I thought about these things, the more I realized that no request presented to the practitioner is considered insignificant, even in jest. She puts everything under the law of God and blesses it. This was a valuable lesson for me, for there are many times I've thought some things were too insignificant to place in God's hands, especially things I thought I knew how to do well. And as a result, they've not gone well. Thanks to the practitioner's help, I'm learning to change that. I'm very grateful for this lesson, for the practitioner help, and for membership in this church. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara or Ken from Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Hi. I'm particularly grateful tonight to have the Blue Book on PDF. Much of it is beyond my present understanding, but some of it is not. And I've recently found answers to one long-standing question and one burning one. I don't remember how I got the book, but I know about it because of Plainfield. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Bruce, and I have a testimony tonight from Teresa from Argentina. Teresa records our lessons in Spanish for our Spanish website. And she was working on one of our lessons, and she had this experience where she said, "I had been suffering from a cold, and it was so aggressive that it exhausted me to even talk. I declared that no suggestion of animal magnetism could prevent me from clearly reading this lesson. I made several attempts to record it, but only to erase it and start over again because of the sneezing and coughing that were in the recording. Then a voice told me to just leave it for now. Then I remembered Jesus' prayer as stated in John, which says, 'Neither pray I for these alone, but for them also which shall believe on me through their word, that they all may be one, as thou, Father, art in me, and I in thee, that they also may be one in us, that the world may believe that thou hast sent me. And the glory which thou gavest me, I have given them, that they may be one, even as we are one, I in them, and thou in me, that they may be made perfect in one, and that the world may know that thou hast sent me, and hast loved them as thou hast loved me.' Then I was free from the shaking and discomfort from the illness. So I drank some water and prepared myself to read, and was able to record the lesson without interruptions, and immediately felt much better. This morning I woke up and was completely healed of the cold. So I have no doubt as to the efficacy of this wonderful science. That's her testimony. After she gave me her testimony, she decided she was going to record Mrs. Eddy's article from Miscellaneous Writings, which is called I've Got Cold. She recorded it in Spanish, and we have it, and it's now on our Spanish website, together with many other recordings in Spanish. Those of you who understand Spanish, visit our Spanish website. There's a lot of wonderful material there. Mike from New York, go ahead.
Thank you. About 3 or 4 years ago, I was taking it easy on the first day of skiing in Colorado. It was a bit of a warm day, and I was overdressed, but no reason for a wave of uneasiness, maybe even nausea that hit me. I stopped and felt like lying down in the snow, but knew that I had to stand and keep standing against this thought. I treated myself with the Lord's Prayer and scientific statement of being and was able to recover quite well. Because of the fact I'd never been hit by anything like this, I felt it best that I'd get some assistance, so I called my Plainfield practitioner for help. Things, for the most part, were very well, but would experience strange sensations in my chest at times, so continued to work with my practitioner and was given such wisdom, as God is a great heart of love. And doing something extra, like shoveling the snow off of the house roof, I would pray as I worked, which had a side effect of me not being as sore or tired when I was finished than previously. I only had to emergency call the practitioner one other time, and I'm most grateful how quickly the practitioner's prayers relieved that situation positively. The work continued, and the extremely positive result has been that now I strive to keep at one with God continuously rather than only when under stress, and I'm doing the best ever. I'm truly thankful that now when I go to do physical work such as shoveling, I look forward to it because it's so much easier for me to feel God's presence with me, whatever I might be doing. I'm thankful to God, the teachings of Christ Jesus and Mary Baker Eddy, and the loving help of my Plainfield practitioner. I am so grateful to be here tonight, and thank you for the beautiful readings and the wonderful testimonies and music.
Thank you. Luba from Ohio, go ahead.
I'm so grateful that Mrs. Eddy has stressed the importance of working on the weather. Carpenter writes from Mary Baker Eddy, her spiritual footsteps on page 272, handling the weather scientifically is one of the best methods of restoring man to his rightful place, which the thought of weakness, subjection, and fear has taken from him. For it gives him a glimpse of his infinite possibilities and his need of using them, so that wisdom and love may again be present in cause and be demonstrated by man under the government of God. Then they will express themselves in effect. I'm very grateful for this insight and all that Christian Science presents or provides, and I'm very grateful for my practitioner's help. Thank you for tonight's reading, and I'm happy to be here this evening.
Thank you. Gary.
Well, I'm grateful tonight to be learning that we really do have something to do with our own experiences. When I first arrived here at Plainfield, I thought that there were some things that, in my experience, that were under my control or I could do something about, but that there were other things, in my experience, that I couldn't do anything about. You know, like general business conditions, weather, things like that. But a really fine practitioner and teacher in this church taught all of us, that there isn't anything in our experience that is not under God's control. And that, along with that, with God, all things are possible. And then there's this covenant in the Old Testament, which basically says, if we faithfully do what God has for us to do, He will take care of us. Period. Well, since accepting that, I have seen this to be true, not only in my life, but in the lives of other members of this church, and even for the church itself. When we needed a lawyer to defend us against the lawsuit, when the Board of Trustees tried to crush us, literally, God provided us.
Board of Directors.
The Board of Directors, sorry. God provided us with one of the finest litigators in the state of New Jersey and enough money to pay for the defense and to win that lawsuit for the freedom of every Christian Science church in the world to be independent. Well, when we needed a professional printer, started writing our own lessons and magazine, God provided us with a professional printer right out of New York City, who served us well for many, many years. And then when we needed an organist, well, God provided one right in our own Sunday school. And after that, provided us with many other fine, outstanding organists. Well, I'm grateful for this lesson. It has given me a peace that I had not known. It has given me a peace that I could not have known. And now, whenever anything does go wrong in my life, which is not too often, I recognize it as a sign that I need to get closer to God and do a better job of obeying Him. Well, I'm so grateful for Christian Science and for the teacher that has taught me this and many other lessons, for helping me to see that it is up to us whether we obey God or not, and reap the benefits of doing so or not. So I'm very grateful to be here, and thank you, Amanda, for those fine readings tonight.
Thank you. Sharon.
Recently, I was looking for a new home. I asked a practitioner for support and was told God had a good plan for me. With the help of a member of this church who is a realtor, I quickly found a place that I loved. Practitioner said God's plan was unfolding and she would support it. I made an offer, but it wasn't accepted. Someone had made a higher offer. Practitioner said maybe it would fall through, but I said no, it was a cash offer. I found another place and made an offer, and it wasn't accepted. I said I was going to wait before looking at more. I thought I had some lessons to learn, and I was told it was in God's hands. Within a couple of days, my offer on the place I loved was accepted. When I told the practitioner the good news, I reminded her she said the other offer might fall through. She said when I was willing to give it up to God, His plan unfolded. What God had for me was mine, and she knew this one was right for me. I am very grateful for the unfolding with practitioner help and the lessons I learned. I am grateful to be here. Thank you for the readings and all the testimonies and the music.
Thank you. Craig.
I'm so glad I discovered Christian Science in this church. More and more, I realize that it's an ever-present help. During the summer months, I have gratitude for the healing of summer doldrums or dog days of summer. In the summer, when I would often just be so dragging and not a whole lot got done. But I realized that I learned here that every day is good to be done, and I love the chapter on Genesis where Mary Baker Eddy talks about on page 511. She talks about all the different ideas of nature, and that the fowls fly above the earth. I love the birds, and it turns about they represent something beautiful, soaring, doing new and fresh and good things. And where we live in this town, every morning around 5 o'clock, the birds start singing beautifully, and they're so social. And it's come to mean to me that this is a great day, and they do it every day. And I found that like this morning, it seemed like it was going to be sort of a very heavy and drawn-out day, but they started singing, and it reminded me of Mrs. Eddy's chapter in Genesis, and how they could just find good in any kind of weather, and that was such an encouragement. And I found that I can, I not only just expect that there's something good to be done, whether it be at home or the community or working for the nation, but there's just like them, raise your thought and think about outwardly about something bigger than yourself and work at it. There's so many examples in the world about how we should live. I think having Mary Baker Eddy Science and Health.
Thank you. Florence from Georgia, go ahead.
Thank you. Tonight, I would just like to share what has changed my life to a great extent through Christian Science. I know now, and I can say confidently, that if anyone wants peace, we just have to follow what Jesus has said in the Bible. The Bible has so much about it, and Mary Baker Eddy's instructions. I'm so grateful that my life has changed living Christian Science. And I would like to recommend 2 articles from which so many truths used daily has brought that about. The article called Day, one by Mary Baker Eddy, one by Bicknell Young. They are both on our website, and anyone can find them under publications. If you go to the articles, you will find them. What I learned there is that the day is not my plan, it's the unfoldment of God's plan. And just sticking to this, daily knowing this, has brought tremendous difference in my living, so much peace. I cannot be grateful to God enough. Thank you, Amanda, for the beautiful readings, assuring us of the peace of God. Peace is needed everywhere. And I'm so grateful to be here tonight.
Thank you. Mary.
Good evening, everyone. I'll read from our bulletin board. The first few are from the week of the God lesson a couple of weeks ago. First couple are from Florida. Such a wonderfully comforting and encouraging lesson this week on God, an assurance of the loving ever-presence and all-encompassing power of God, and His readiness to answer sincere prayer. Truth is an alterative in the entire system and can make it every whit whole, science and health. In our government, our system, our political system, immigration system, educational and school systems, military system, any system. Thank you, lesson writer, for this magnificent and inspiring lesson. and also Florida. Thank you for the roundtable session today and the inspired discussion of the Lord's Prayer. It shed a whole new light on it for me. And thank you for that beautiful and holy solo at the service. It was glorious and moved both myself and my husband. And then Virginia, this past Sunday service was a very holy service from beginning to end. I was absolutely taken aback when the Lord's Prayer was sung. I not only was in tears, but felt my spirit soaring up through the roof after it was over, and I did not want to talk with anyone for quite a while, as I wanted to cherish and hold on to the feeling I had from the sacred service. In all my years of having attended Christian Science churches, I cannot recall ever having felt the way I did with this service. It was truly a heavenly experience. And then this is from the sacrament, the week of the sacrament lesson. Virginia, thank you all for the blessings that this church provides. On Tuesday, July 9th, included in the daily email was the audio of the Bible study from April 22nd, 2017, on the subject of working out your own salvation. What a joy it was to spend time listening to this Bible study again. And it goes so well with our Bible lesson this week on sacrament. Nothing is ever lost or missed in the activities here. With our Bible studies stopped for a while for the summer, this is a wonderful gift with many truths to ponder. I felt such joy listening to this, gaining a little more understanding each time and enjoying the warmth and love of all of those participating. Thanks to all. And then a couple from Illinois. I have known of the forum on our website, but never explored it. Bible citations from this week's lesson on sacrament were puzzling to me, and I was going to post a question on the bulletin board. Instead, the still small voice said, "The forum." Of course, the forum contained posts on the exact citations I was interested in. In addition to current posts, historic forum posts are available and very helpful. I am grateful for this resource, and more grateful for the one and only divine mind, which always provides what we need and always meets every need for all mankind. Thank you very much for the articles featured on the home page, too. Each is delivering a timely angel message. And then this is a letter from someone in prison, writing from Florida. Dear friends at Plainfield Christian Science Church, please accept this letter as an application for membership in the church. Mrs. Eddy's teachings are the correct way to follow the Bible and to live. Since you've been sending me things to read, I've removed the errors which cause me to ache and hurt all over. The truth has replaced these errors. I still have more errors to remove. I have faith these will be replaced also by truth. On page 159 in the book Teaching and Addresses by Kimball, he says that some things will take time. I'll keep working on these things. Anxiety and panic attacks, and also a hernia. I know with persistence that these two will be replaced by truth, and should I have more problems, I will contact a practitioner for assistance. When released, I want to find a place to live in Plainfield or another town close to our church so I can go to the services. God will bless me with this, going home to New Jersey. I'm originally from Morris County. Let me thank you again for the wonderful teachings you've been sending. If I need an actual application, please send me one. I hope I can be a member even though I'm here. We have no Christian Science meetings at all. Also, can you maybe find me a member of the church to write to? I'll explain in detail why I'm here, what happened, the impatience and being in a hurry that caused the accident which ended my wife's earthly life. I had a lot of guilt from this and trouble forgiving myself, and I hope to hear from someone soon. Thank you. So that dear fellow is blessed by his contact with us and by our prayers, and we'd certainly love to have him as a member. And then this is a testimony from California. God is good and loving to me and my children, and I would like to express it in my testimony. I'm starting to see the love of God everywhere now. This is so amazing, and my life is changing. I am changing. As I continue to do the Christian Science work, I feel I'm getting closer and closer to what is the real me, the revealed Christ, as said by Martha Wilcox. I had been dealing with an unpleasant situation for about a month involving some people. I prayed to God for guidance because I could not handle it anymore. I felt I was going crazy for a while because this was so disturbing to me. Angel thoughts came to me and led me to the articles Idealism and Realism, Malpractice and No Malpractice by Martha Wilcox, and Christian Science for Protective Work by Bicknell Young. I understood what was going on and immediately started working on this problem. Since then, I am submitting my every thought to God, and everything is changing. The situation has ended, and I started to understand how important it is to love one another, no matter what it seems they might have done to me. I feel great love and appreciation for these people now. But most important, I feel love and appreciation for myself. These people had nothing to do with this issue. I was actually malpracticing on myself, thinking that I didn't love myself, and I was just manifesting that negative state of thought. After listening to last Sunday's roundtable, I started to think and identified with something that was shared then. Someone stated that he had felt broken before coming to the Plainfield Christian Science Independent Church, and that was how I was feeling. Then I realized that that feeling of brokenness was coming from the false knowledge and material beliefs, which in fact are the breaking off of error from me, because now I'm becoming the real me, the revealed Christ. So it is all good. I have nothing but gratitude and joy now. I give thanks to Plainfield for this independent church, for everything they share so freely and lovingly. Thank you so much for reading my testimony tonight, and I wish a lovely evening to everyone. And the last is England. Just a line of thanks in particular today for the weekly roundtables. I find them very helpful and usually listen to them at least twice and take notes to try to think about and put into practice the ideas that have been shared. Much gratitude to you all for the teaching and preparation, and to the participants for their contributions. Also very grateful for the additional writings by and about Mrs. Eddy, which are provided at the Plainfield Church and which are not available or maybe even banned in the mainstream Christian Science movement. I would also like to thank the singers and musicians who perform in the Sunday services. The range of styles of the solos is amazing, and this week's performance about excuses was excellent. Whilst listening, I was reminded of a song hymn I heard once some years ago, sung as a duet at a folk club. I got the details as I liked it so much and wondered if your musicians had ever considered it. You possibly know it already, but it was new to my husband and I, so I'm attaching details, just in case it is of interest. I believe it is originally from America and was around in Mrs. Eddy's time, and it's called Blessed Quietness. I'm very grateful to you and all at Plainfield for all I'm learning, and I'm grateful to be on what I feel is the right road, having found Plainfield after quite a bit of internet searching. Very much gratitude and love to everyone at Plainfield. And a lot of good mail. Thank you. Those were beautiful readings, Amanda. I know at one time I really worked at being peaceful because I didn't understand the concept that peace comes from obedience to God. And then no other way can it be obtained. You can't conjure it up. You can't fake it. It has to be that inner peace that you get when you have a feeling of oneness with the Father from obedience to Him. Last week, one day late in the afternoon, I'd had a very busy day, and I found that one of my hands was extremely painful. I felt as if I had sprained it or something. I could barely move it. And so I quietly finished my tasks for the day with my one hand that was working. And I went up to my room just to have some quiet to pray for myself. And one of the thoughts that came, and it had been in a recent lesson, and it was in Science and Health, in the preface, where Mrs. Eddy says, "The physical healing of Christian Science results now, as in Jesus' time, from the operation of divine principle, before which sin and disease lose their reality in human consciousness and disappear as naturally and as necessarily as darkness gives place to light and sin to reformation." And what struck me so were those two words, naturally and necessarily. And when I thought back on the healings that I've had in science, and there have been so many, they didn't come with trumpets blaring and and all kinds of fireworks. They came very quietly and naturally. In fact, almost where I didn't even notice it was happening. I mean, one minute I was having all this terrible troubles, and just as the light dissipates the darkness left, and I could see clearly, and I could see what a beautiful world God has created, and all the perfection all around me. And that is how healing occurs, quietly, naturally, and also necessarily. It has to be, because that's the truth of your being. So I thought about that statement. That's all I thought about. And then I got ready for bed. My hand still ached quite a bit, but I trusted God with it. And I had a good night's rest. And in the morning, my hand was 95% back to normal. And very quickly, by the end of the morning, it was completely healed. And I was so grateful to God. And I felt that naturalness and that also the necessary part of the healing. And I know, I've heard people with problems and as a practitioner, and sometimes then I don't hear about the problem anymore, and later I'll ask, and oh yeah, that was healed. And then I've heard other times when maybe the problem wasn't healed and people get more and more and more upset over it. So please, when a problem does heal, and it seems so natural, give God that credit. Thank Him. It wouldn't have happened any other way. God is our great physician. He is our healer. And there's nothing too big or too small for Him. I'm so grateful for this lesson. I'm so grateful for dear Mrs. Eddy, for the wonderful meeting tonight, for all of you who are demonstrating this wonderful way of life that blesses us and all mankind.
Thank you.